of comedians, there are so many people who that you make laugh like nobody else does. What were there comedians when you were coming up that you looked up to, or what comedian makes you laugh like you make other people laugh?
Well, first of all, we looked up to. I had always been a fan of any type of comedy, especially comedians.
Uh-huh.
But when I was a young man, like in high school or college or something,
Sure.
I never thought that I would be a comedian. It's not that I had an idea. So I didn't admire comedians because I wanted to be like them.
Right.
As I mentioned earlier in the conversation, me being in the comedy, I kind of stumbled into it.
Right.
But to answer your question, see, when I was growing up in grammar school and high school, the comedians that you would see on television were like Red Skelton, Jack Benny, and people like that.
Sure.
And there was a show on every Sunday, the Ed Sullivan Show.
Mm-hmm.
And he had at least one comedian on the show every time. And that's where you got to see comedians like, it might be Alan King, Jack Carter, Jan Murray, even Woody Allen was a very young guy. He would be on the show. So we would watch the Ed Sullivan Show until the comedian came on. And when the comedian was over with, my dad would change the channel. My dad loved comedy.
Yeah.
So we just watched the show just to see the comedians,
Yeah. And Alan King was a very funny man. I think
absolutely.
Very under.
And everybody knows about Rodney Dangerfield always making me laugh.
Sure. Did you like Bob Newhart?
Oh, I love Bob Newhart.
I saw him once in Knoxville, Tennessee, and that was a real thrill.
Well, see, a lot of people, some of these people who became famous,
right?
Based on your age, you kind of think that they think about those people because they saw them doing a sitcom on television.
Oh no, but Bob
before Bob Newhart got on television doing a sitcom, he was a stand-up comedian.
Yes, the Button Down Mind album was the only one to win a Grammy for Album of the Year. The only comedy album that's ever done that. He beat out Frank Sinatra.
Right. That was so amazing.
Yeah.
It was the number one record in the country, including somebody like Frank Sinatra,
That's never been done since.
And you see these other comedians who went on to be big stars.
Right.
Like Tim Allen, who did Home Improvement,
Right.
Well, see, I first met Tim Allen when he was working the comedy clubs for $600 a week.
Yeah.
And Ray Romano.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody loves Raymond. Mm-hmm. He was a stand-up comedian, and he toured the comedy clubs for a lot of years. And the same thing with Jerry Seinfeld. A lot of people don't know this, but Jerry Seinfeld, he would do a comedy clubs around the country. He performed in not just Atlanta, Georgia, but he performed in Nashville, Tennessee. He performed in Lexington, Kentucky. That's before anybody knew who he was. So these people that you see on television and you be fans, keep in mind that they started their career doing strictly stand-up comedian.
Right.
That's what they can do.
Now, you talk about these comedians that are out today. I'm not really that big a fan of most of them, but Bob, I was a real big fan, but that was because Button Down Mind made me laugh more than the Bob Newhart show made me laugh,
Well, one of the greatest comedians in the world right now, has been for years. He's originally from North Carolina. His name is Brian Regan. Do you know who Brian Regan is?
Yes, I do, and I believe if I've done my homework right, you credit him as the second funniest man in America.
Yeah, I just do that as a joke. But he might be the funniest man. I'm a big fan of Brian Regan. He's a classy guy. He's hysterically funny.
And is his act clean?
Exactly.
His act is clean, right?
Right.
Because I don't know. I haven't seen his act, but yeah.
Oh, you should watch it. So
yeah.
You'll find him on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll do that.
He appeared on the Letterman show as many times over the years, you know, and he sells out almost every place he goes.
Sure. He's played in...
Very funny guy.
He's played in Roanoke. That's about as close as he ever gets to here. Yeah. So if he comes again, I'll look into getting tickets and tell him that James Gregory sent me.
Yeah.
So.
And I love Jeff Osworthy too.
Oh yeah, I've seen him. I've seen 3 out of 4 of the Blue Collar guys, and
yeah.
But
I used to Jeff and I used to hang out together. We did comedy clubs together back in.
But
a lot of years ago, you know, and he became a huge, big star. But he's always made me funny.
Yeah, and Foxworthy's always clean too, and I really appreciate that about him.
Yeah,
you know, because you don't have to be dirty to be funny.
Right. But I don't criticize those guys too much.
No, I don't.
I do realize that evidently there is an audience that likes that kind of humor, and they are funny. A lot of them are really funny, you know. So
it's just my personal taste, you know.
Yeah, my personal thing is not my type, but they do have a following, and they are funny, you know.
Right.
And as long as we have the First Amendment, you know,
then we have the right. Yeah.
They're entitled to do what they want to do.
Exactly.
I'm not too critical of those guys. I know a lot of them personally. You know, they're good people. They just have a different style than I do.
Right. You are so well-spoken, and a lot of your comedy routine, as you said, is just very, very common sense. And I would consider it even particularly the bit about everybody sitting on the front porch and the dad didn't need to answer the phone because everything he needed was already right in front of him. You don't get a laugh from that. The whole audience breaks out into applause when you say that. And that is more like that's when you become more like a motivational speaker. And
here's what I've said about kids today, you know. You hear this all the time, that kids today are not the same type of kids of years ago. In other words, and times do change, you know.
Right.
And I made a comment several times that the problem with kids today, and it's not their fault, by the way.
Right.
Is today is kids, and I don't mean 3 years old. I just mean high school or grammar school or whatever.
Sure.
Or even college age. The problem with kids today is they have 500 friends on Facebook and none on the front porch.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly. And there is something to be said for growing up in rural areas where we grew up, because these are the places where the family still comes together for a meal at the table every night. These are the places where you still can go out in the yard and play, and you don't have to worry about being shot or kidnapped. You know, and you don't have that everywhere in the world. And, you know.
But today, though, I think a lot of kids don't really want to go outside and play. But say in a house, say in the room.
Being on electronics.
You know, they're online. They got the iPhone in front of them or an iPad. And all their friends and all their contacts are people they've never seen.
Right.
You know?
Virtual. Yeah.
Right. It's a virtual thing.
Right.
So they're not having any human contact across the street.
Right.
They're inside online.
Right. But the way you speak and the way that your projections on people are so inspirational. Have you ever considered putting your entire routine and the things that you say, and I say this because I'm a writer and I love books, have you ever considered writing a memoir or doing a book of some kind?
Yeah, people have asked me about that over the years. Should I do a book, or I ought to do a book, you know? And I thought about it, but I never got around to doing it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I wrote a book, it wouldn't be a book that would be just funny.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would just be a book about my travels and the type of people that I have met over the years. And some of those legendary artists that I've met, you know. You meet a lot of famous people sometimes just for a moment or two, and they maybe a half a dozen where you become friends with them, you know.
And I think that would be a very interesting book, by the way.
And then you realize some of those artists. I'm a big country music fan, for example, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And a few years ago, I was doing a show at a comedy club in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Zanies. It's a legendary place. I've been going there every 6 months for the past 38 years. I started going there in 1984. And in the green room, I'll give you an example of who in the green room, you know, just hanging out.
Sure.
Sorry. Was Kenny Chesney, Brad Paisley, George Jones and his wife, Bobby Bear, Jan Howard, and they were all there to see a comedy show. You know, it's interesting about how life is. People kind of wish they could do what somebody else is doing. I've always wished that I could play the piano, and I've always wished that I could sing. You know what I mean?
Me too.
I can't, but I wish I could.
I can't either, but I would give anything to be able to.
But then you start meeting some of these people who do that, and it's kind of reverse to them. I first met Kenny Chesney before he became as famous as he is.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And he would say things like that. He said, "Man, I wish I could be funny like that." You know. So it's kind of interesting how life is.
Mm-hmm. How it comes full circle, and God gives us the talents He gives us for a reason. So.
Right. You know.
So
it's all in that same category of entertainment. People still love to be entertained. You know, whether you go see a country music artist or any type of musical act, whether it be Bruce Springsteen or whether it be Mick Jagger, Rolling Stones, or whether it be a Kenny Chesney, or whether you go see a concert with Jerry Seinfeld or Jay Leno, what you're doing, you want an hour and a half or 2 hours to escape everyday life.
Exactly.
Just to enjoy yourself and laugh a lot and have a good time.
Yes.
For that couple of hours. That's what entertainment is for, you know.
And you definitely do that for countless people every day. But you are not married, correct?
No.
And
But I got a zillion of nieces and nephews, and now they have kids. You know, the Gregory family, we breed like rabbits.
All right. Well, that leads into my next question, because your message, the message of your comedy, and the generation that you speak of is so vastly leaving us. Who would you pass your legacy on to? And you have many nieces and nephews that you can pass that on to. I would imagine you're the favorite uncle.
Well, I hope I am. But, you know, I treat my nieces and their kids as if they're my children.
Right. And do you have any of them that are funny like you?
Sometimes I think it's funnier than me. But I was, once my sister passed away about 3 years ago, we do all the holiday events like Thanksgiving and Christmas in my niece's house, okay?
Right.
And this Christmas, for example, there were 26 people there for Christmas. Thanksgiving, there was 24 people, you know. So that's a big family.
Right.
And had a few friends thrown in.
And I would hope that these people appreciate the Mayberry way of life, the style that you project.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There you go. I'm so proud of my three nieces and the kids they raised.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody asked me one time about. I'm always bragging about my nephews and nieces.
Sure.
I said, well, I can tell you this. They all call me sir.
Wow.
And here's what I mean by that. And this comes from one generation to the other.
Sure.
If you were talking to one of my nieces or nephews, and even their children, so they have little children, they refer to you as sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. Thank you, sir. You don't see that expression too much in today's world, But they're very respectful to adults. Everything is sir and ma'am, And they do little things, for example, like my niece, my oldest niece, she had two boys, and when they were in the 15, 16 years old, they adopted another kid. Okay, his name is Chance. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the two oldest kids, Donnie and Stanley, they got married and now they got kids. Okay. But the point I'm making is, at mealtime, at dinner time, okay, you are not allowed to bring your cell phone to the dinner table.
Yes, sir. And you're not allowed to go eat in another room with the television.
No. It's a family thing.
Yes.
Like today, if you go out to a restaurant today, for example, it's kind of sad if you see it, take a good look at it. It might be a family, a mom and a dad and two kids. The kids might be 12 and 15, okay? And all four of them have this little iPhone in their hand. And they are looking at that as much as they're talking to each other, even in a restaurant, And I have this habit that I've had. I will not take my phone into a restaurant.
Right.
I leave the phone in the car.
I don't either, mostly, yeah.
If I meet somebody for lunch, or I'm on the road a lot, I'm used to traveling with another comedian. All right. When we stop to eat, I'll leave the phone in the car because I don't want to get to the point where the phone in my hand is more important than the human being sitting in front of me.
Amen.
I'd rather talk to a live human being, whether it be a friend or a relative or a neighbor. I'd rather enjoy their conversation than have this little electronic gadget in my hand.
Because these electronic gadgets, they're going to be here till the end of time in some form. Once that human being is gone, it's gone.
Right. Now, I'm glad we have that technology. I love my iPhone. I love my iPad. And this modern technology has been a big boom for society.
Everything is.
But there are two or three negative sides.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have to balance that.
Yeah. Everything can be helpful if you use it in the right way, but if you don't, it can be a downfall.
That's exactly right.
So I have a 7-year-old daughter. Her name is Bella, and she is a big fan of yours also. And she's at school now, but she wanted me to tell you that she was a big fan. She says hello, and she's in 2nd grade, and she, much to my chagrin, she has a boyfriend, and his name is James.
Oh, that's a good name.
So she wanted me to tell you that. So I promised I would pass that along.
Okay, but tell her I said hello.
I will do that. You know, and your show is a show that we can always watch as a family, and that speaks volumes in and of itself, because as I told you, I was born with a disability. I was given a 10% chance of survival upon birth. I was born in 1985, 3.5 months early. And they said if I did make it, I'd be blind, deaf, and mentally retarded. And I'm 36 years old, and I haven't quite hit any of them yet. So I've been blessed enough to be married to a wonderful woman and had this beautiful child. And I couldn't have done that I believe if I haven't lived the way that you project in your comedy that people should live. And just
and the thing is, though, I'm not going to talk about this on the air, but I could give you a whole list of health issues I've dealt with in the past 20 years.
Sure.
But the point is this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, you know, we expect too much from God when we pray.
Right.
We expect too much. And I told people, all you need is a short prayer. You don't have to talk to God all day long. But when you do pray, the only thing you need to ask for is one more day. That's not philosophy. Dear Lord, sweet Jesus, please give me one more day.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can wake up in the morning and I'm alive and still breathing, then that is the blessing, and the only blessing I really need. I can handle the rest of it.
Amen. Amen.
Just being above ground, knowing that you can go see your family, knowing that you can go meet a friend for lunch, So if I could just have one more day, I do the same prayer every night. Give me one more day, and sure enough, I'm here this morning, So that alone is the blessing. That's the blessing,